The midnight train station hung silent in the darkness of space. Its tall metal walls and long empty platforms looked tired, like a forgotten place waiting for something to happen. The station floated quietly between two planets, far from busy spaceports and crowded cities. It was a place where only a few travelers came, mostly lost souls or those who had nowhere else to go. Myra sat alone on a cold metal bench near the center of the station. Her work boots thumped softly on the floor as she crossed her legs, holding a small, worn toolbox close to her side. Her dark hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, and her clothes were a little dusty from a long day fixing machines. She stared down the long tracks, waiting for the midnight freight train that was always late. The station was mostly empty, except for the soft hum of old machines running somewhere deep inside the walls. Flickering lights above cast long shadows, making the place feel even colder. Myra sighed. She had spent many nights like this waiting for trains, fixing broken parts, and dreaming of a better future. Suddenly, soft footsteps echoed down the platform. Myra looked up quickly. She was not alone. A tall figure appeared from the shadows, moving carefully and quietly. He wore simple clothes that shimmered faintly under the station lights, and his skin had a soft glow that seemed almost like the stars outside. His eyes were bright and curious, shining with colors Myra had never seen before. "Hello," the stranger said softly, his voice calm and gentle. Myra blinked, surprised to hear someone speak after so many hours of silence. "Hi," she replied, standing up slowly. "I didn't think anyone else was here this late." The stranger smiled shyly. "I am Raoul," he said. "I am waiting for the same train." Myra nodded. "Myra," she said, offering her hand. His fingers were warm as they shook hers, and she felt a strange spark she could not explain. Raoul looked around the empty station. "It is very quiet here," he said. "Where are the people?" Myra laughed softly. "This place is mostly forgotten. Most travelers choose faster routes now, and this station is like an old friend no one visits." He watched her with interest. "You seem comfortable here." She shrugged. "I work on the trains and machines here. It's not always easy, but I like it." The silence returned between them, but it no longer felt lonely. The strange man with glowing skin sat down beside Myra, and she didn't move away. Minutes passed. The cold metal bench felt warmer with someone beside her. "I have never seen a place like this," Raoul said quietly. "Your world is very different from mine." Myra looked at him, curious. "Where do you come from?" "Far away," he said, looking up at the dark sky beyond the station's dome. "My home is a world of light and slow time. We do not rush like humans do." Myra smiled. "You humans sound like they take forever to do anything." Raoul's eyes twinkled. "You humans, you have fire inside. You burn bright, even in the dark." The wind outside the station made the metal walls creak softly. Myra felt a warmth in her chest, something new and strange. They sat together, two very different beings in a quiet place lost between stars. Suddenly, a soft beep came from Myra's wrist device. She checked it quickly and frowned. "The freight train is late," she said. "Again?" Raoul looked confused. "Why is that? Is something wrong?" Myra shook her head. "No, this station has a lot of old parts. Sometimes things don't work right. That's just how humans do things, we fix them as we go." Raoul studied her face. "That sounds difficult." "It is," Myra said, laughing softly. But it's also part of who we are. We don't give up. We keep trying. Roel nodded slowly. I like that about humans. The quiet hum of the station filled the air again. Myra glanced at Roel and realized how unusual this moment was. She didn't know him, but somehow she felt like she could trust him. Would you like some coffee? She asked suddenly. It's not much, but it will keep you awake. Roel smiled. I would like that very much. Myra stood and walked toward a small, dusty machine at the corner of the station. She pressed some buttons, and the machine sputtered to life, slowly pouring warm, dark liquid into 2 cups. She handed 1 cup to Roel, who accepted it with a grateful nod. The smell was strong and bitter, but comforting. They sat back down, sipping quietly. The warmth of the coffee spread through Myra's hands. For the first time in a long while, the empty station did not feel so empty. The midnight train had not arrived yet, but Myra and Roel found something waiting in the silence, a small, gentle connection that neither had expected. As the lights flickered softly above, Myra thought maybe this forgotten place was not so forgotten after all. And maybe, just maybe, something new was beginning. The midnight freight train was supposed to arrive an hour ago. Myra kept checking her wrist device, but the screen stubbornly showed a delay. The blinking red light made her sigh. It was not surprising. Old stations like this rarely saw trains on time. Roel sat beside her, his glowing eyes still watching the dim platform lights. He seemed calm but curious, as if he was trying to understand the strange ways of humans. Myra looked at him and smiled. You know, she said, when trains are late, people usually get angry or frustrated. But not here. This station is too quiet for that. Roel tilted his head. Why do humans get angry about delays? Because we like to keep control, Myra answered. We plan everything: trains, work, meetings. When something breaks the plan, it feels like the world is falling apart, even if it is just a little. Roel listened carefully. In my world, time flows slowly. We wait without rushing. We believe that everything will happen when it must. Myra laughed softly. I don't know if I could wait like that. Sometimes I feel like the world is moving too fast. I don't want to miss anything. Roel's eyes brightened. Maybe that is why you humans are special. You burn brightly because you fear the darkness. Myra looked at him thoughtfully. Maybe you're right. They sat quietly for a moment, watching the empty tracks. Then Myra spoke again. You ever wonder why humans always try, even when things seem hopeless? Roel smiled a little. I think it is hope. Hope is a fire that never goes out. Myra nodded. Yeah, hope and stubbornness. Sometimes stubbornness wins. Roel looked at her with a soft smile. I admire that. Just then, a soft rumble echoed through the station. Myra's heart jumped. That's the sound, she said. But the rumble stopped suddenly, and silence returned. Roel raised an eyebrow. What happened? Myra shook her head. Probably another delay. Sometimes the trains break down or lose power. It is part of the old system. Roel looked concerned. Do you ever feel tired of waiting and fixing things? Myra took a deep breath. Sometimes, yes. But then I remember why I do this. To keep the trains moving, to help people get where they need to go. It matters. Roel reached out gently, touching her hand. You carry a heavy burden. Myra looked down at their hands. His touch was warm and steady. She felt a strange comfort. Maybe you should rest, Rule said softly. Even the brightest fires need to breathe. She smiled. Maybe I will. They talked about many things as the night stretched on, about stars and planets, about simple joys and deep fears. Rule told her stories of his world, where the sky was always light and the days lasted for years. Myra shared tales of Earth's busy cities, of laughter and music that filled the air. With each story, they learned more about each other's worlds and themselves. Rule was fascinated by Myra's energy, how she faced every challenge with a quiet strength. Myra was touched by Rule's kindness, his patient way of listening without judgment. As they talked, the station's cold walls seemed less empty. Their voices echoed softly, like a gentle song in the night. Suddenly, the lights flickered again. Myra stood quickly and walked to the control panel. I need to check the power, she said. Rule followed her, watching as she moved with confidence. She opened a small panel and looked at wires and circuits. Some were old and worn, but still holding strong. Myra frowned. The power system is weak. I will have to fix it, or the train might not come. Rule stepped closer. Can I help? Myra looked surprised. You want to help? He nodded. I want to learn. Together, they worked on the old system. Myra showed him which wires to connect, how to reset the controls. Rule was quick to understand, his hands gentle but sure. Slowly, the power hummed back to life. The station lights grew steady and bright. Myra smiled, feeling proud. Thanks to you, the station is alive again. Rule smiled back. We make a good team. As they stood side by side, something passed between them, a quiet understanding, a gentle warmth that did not need words. The midnight train was still delayed, but Myra no longer felt impatient. With Rule there, waiting was easier. The empty station had become a place where two very different souls met, sharing a moment that neither would forget. Outside, the stars shone bright and endless, as if watching over them. Myra looked at Rule and said softly, maybe sometimes, the wait is the best part. He nodded, his eyes full of light. Yes. Because it brings us together. The platform remained silent, but inside the quiet station, something new was beginning, a small spark of connection, fragile and bright, in the cold of the midnight hour. The station was quiet again, the hum of revived power filling the space with a gentle buzz. Myra stood near the control panel, brushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear. She felt the warmth of accomplishment after fixing the power system with Rule's help. The lights were steady now, no longer flickering or dimming like before. Rule watched her carefully. You move like you belong here, he said softly. Myra smiled. I've been doing this job for years. It's not always easy, but I know these machines well. He nodded, his glowing eyes following her every move. I have never seen such confidence in anyone. It is beautiful. She blushed slightly and looked away. Thank you. I guess I'm used to fixing things. It's how I survive. They returned to the bench, sitting side by side again. The warmth between them grew quietly, like the soft glow of the station lights. For a long time, neither spoke. Instead, they listened to the steady hum of the station, to the distant echoes of space beyond the windows. Then Myra asked, do you ever get lonely, Rule? Traveling between worlds, seeing so many places but never feeling truly home. Rule's eyes softened. Yes. Sometimes I feel like a traveler without a path. But meeting you, it feels different. Less lonely. Myra reached out and touched his hand lightly. Maybe the journey is better when you have someone to share it with. He smiled, squeezing her hand gently. I would like to share more with you. Suddenly, the lights flickered once more. A brief blackout made the station feel colder and darker for a moment. Myra's heart skipped. She stood quickly, moving to the control panel again. Not again, she muttered. Rule rose with her. What is wrong? The power grid here is old and fragile, Myra explained. These flickers mean something deeper. A bigger problem. She pulled open a panel beneath the controls and studied the wires and circuits inside. One wire looked loose, sparking faintly with tiny flashes of light. I need to fix this before it causes a full blackout, she said. But I can't do it alone. Roll stepped forward without hesitation. I will help you. Together, they worked carefully inside the small control box. Myra showed Roll how to handle the wires safely, how to tighten the loose connections. His hands were steady and careful, matching hers with surprising skill. As they worked, their faces were close, shadows dancing on the walls from the small sparks of electricity. Myra felt her breath catch when Roll looked into her eyes. There was something gentle and honest in his gaze, a calm strength that made her heart beat faster. She pulled her hand back, laughing softly. You're distracting me. Roll smiled, a faint glow in his cheeks. I did not mean to. Finally, the last wire clicked into place. Myra stepped back and flipped a switch. The lights came back fully, steady and strong. We did it, she said, smiling. Roll grinned. Together. For a moment, they just stood there, hands almost touching, hearts racing quietly in the stillness. Myra broke the silence. You know, this station feels less empty with you here. Roll's smile grew warmer. You make this place alive. They sat back down on the bench, closer now. The night air felt softer, the cold less biting. Myra pulled out a small packet from her bag and offered it to Roll. I brought something for the wait. He opened it carefully to find a few biscuits, simple, homemade-looking treats. He smiled, touched by the small kindness. Thank you, he said, taking one and tasting it slowly. Myra watched him, curious. Is it good? He nodded, eyes bright. Very good. It tastes like home. They shared the biscuits quietly, the simple act of eating together building an invisible bridge between their worlds. Minutes passed, filled with comfortable silence. Then Myra's voice broke through. Tell me more about your world, Roll. What is it like where you come from? He looked thoughtful. It is a place of light and calm. The days are long, the sky never dark. We move slowly, carefully, thinking about every choice. Myra smiled. Sounds peaceful. It is, he said. But sometimes I wonder if it is too slow. If we miss the excitement that comes from risk and change. Myra leaned back, considering. Humans are different. We rush, we make mistakes, but we learn and grow. Maybe that's why your world feels so strange to me. Roll reached for her hand again. I want to learn from you. To understand your fire. She squeezed his hand gently. And I want to understand your calm. Outside, the station remained quiet, the night deepening. The midnight freight train was still late, but Myra no longer worried. With Roll beside her, the empty station felt full of possibility. In the soft glow of the lights, two very different beings shared a simple truth: sometimes, the best moments come not from arriving, but from waiting together. The night stretched on, but Myra and Roel stayed close on the bench, wrapped in the soft glow of the station lights. Outside, the stars glittered like tiny diamonds scattered across the sky, silent witnesses to the quiet connection growing between the human and the alien. Myra took a deep breath and smiled. "You told me your world is slow and calm. What else is it like?" Roel's eyes shone with a gentle light as he began. "Our days last for many cycles. We spend time thinking deeply, not rushing. We believe that true strength comes from patience." Myra listened carefully, fascinated. "That sounds very different from Earth. We are always moving fast, always chasing something new. Sometimes it feels like life is a race with no finish line." Roel nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps your fire and our patience balance each other. I find your energy inspiring." Myra laughed softly. "Sometimes I think humans are just stubborn. We don't stop, even when it's hard." "That is courage," Roel said simply. The two sat quietly for a moment, the only sound the distant hum of the station. Myra's curiosity grew. "Tell me about love in your world, Roel. How do you know when it is real?" Roel looked down, a soft glow coloring his cheeks. "Love is not spoken lightly where I come from. It grows slowly, like a seed. We wait until we are certain." Myra smiled, teasing. "So you mean if I kissed you right now, you'd need 10 years to think about it?" Roel blinked, unsure if she was joking. Then he smiled back. "With you, I think I would decide faster." Myra's heart skipped. She looked away, feeling warmth spread through her chest. "I don't know why," she whispered, "but I feel different with you. Like I don't have to hide behind walls." Roel reached out, gently tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "You don't have to hide." The silence between them was full of unspoken feelings: hope, fear, and the tempting possibility of something new. Suddenly, a soft wind blew through the station, carrying a faint scent of flowers from a distant planet. Myra closed her eyes and breathed it in. "I never thought a place like this could feel so alive." Roel nodded. "Sometimes, the quietest places hold the most meaning." Myra looked at him and smiled. "I think that's true." They shared stories from their lives, her tales of Earth's vast oceans, bustling cities, and the music that filled the streets, his stories of endless skies, slow-moving rivers of light, and the traditions of his people. With every word, their worlds grew closer. Roel was amazed by Myra's strength and humor, how she faced challenges with a fierce heart. Myra was touched by Roel's kindness and thoughtful nature, the way he listened without judgment. As the night deepened, their conversation slowed, but the connection between them remained strong. Myra looked at the empty tracks and sighed. "I wish the train would come soon. But now, I don't want to leave this moment." Roel smiled softly. "Me too." She glanced at him, surprised by the softness in his eyes. "Do you believe in fate?" she asked quietly. Roel thought for a moment. "I believe that some meetings are meant to happen." Myra nodded. "I think this is one of them." The station lights flickered gently, casting long shadows. The night seemed to hold its breath. Suddenly, a soft chime echoed through the station, the signal that the train was finally approaching. Myra stood, her heart beating faster. Roel stood with her, his hand brushing hers. The moment was brief but full of promise. As the distant sound of the train grew louder, Myra looked into Roel's eyes and smiled. "Maybe this is just the beginning." He nodded. A new journey. Together, they waited for the midnight train, Two travelers from different worlds connected by a simple truth that sometimes, the greatest adventure begins not with a destination, but with a shared moment in time. The distant sound of the train grew louder, echoing through the vast, empty station. Myra's heart beat faster as she stood at the edge of the platform, her eyes fixed on the glowing lights far down the tracks. The midnight train was finally coming. Roel stood beside her, silent but calm. His glowing skin shimmered softly in the station's light, making him look almost like a star come down from the sky. The heavy rumble of the train grew closer, vibrating through the metal floor beneath their feet. Myra could feel the old station awakening, as if it were alive and breathing again. When the train finally pulled into the station, it moved slowly and carefully. Its rusty wheels hissed against the rails, and small clouds of steam escaped from its engines. The train was old but strong, a symbol of the journeys it had carried for many years. Myra stepped forward and touched the side of the train, running her hand along the cold metal. "It's finally here," she said softly. Roel looked at her and smiled. "Your world's machines are full of history." Myra nodded. "Every scratch, every dent tells a story." The train's doors hissed open, revealing a dimly lit interior. A few tired travelers stepped out, their faces showing relief at having reached the station. Myra's job was to check the train's systems and make sure everything was ready for the next trip. She pulled out her tools and moved toward the engine room, with Roel following close behind. Inside, the train was warm and noisy. The engine thrummed steadily, and control panels blinked with soft lights. Myra's hands moved quickly and skillfully, checking gauges, tightening bolts, and testing circuits. Roel watched her with admiration. "You know this train better than anyone," he said. She smiled without looking up. "I've spent years working on it. It's like a friend." After a few minutes, Myra stepped back and wiped the sweat from her forehead. "Everything looks good. The train is ready." Roel looked around, his eyes wide. "I want to see the stars from the top of the train. Can we go?" Myra hesitated but then nodded. "Sure. Follow me." They climbed up the narrow stairs to the roof of the train. Outside, the night sky stretched endlessly, filled with millions of stars shining like tiny fires in the dark. Myra sat down on the cold metal roof and looked up. "I never get tired of this view." Roel sat beside her, his glowing skin softly lighting the space between them. "Your stars are beautiful. In my world, the sky is always light, but these stars, they feel alive." They sat quietly, sharing the peaceful moment. After some time, Myra broke the silence. "I'm glad you came with me tonight." Roel smiled. "I am glad too. You make this station feel like home." Myra looked at him and smiled softly. "Maybe it is." The gentle wind blew through their hair, carrying the faint scent of distant flowers and metal. For a while, they watched the stars together, feeling a calm they had never known before. Suddenly, Roel turned to Myra and said, "The journey ahead is long, but I want to travel it with you." Myra's heart quickened. "Even if it means leaving this place?" He nodded. "Yes. Because some journeys are about more than just reaching a destination." She reached out and took his hand. "Then let's begin." Below them, the train whistle blew, a clear and hopeful sound that echoed through the night. Myra and Roel climbed down from the roof, their hands still joined. Inside the train, the other travelers looked up and smiled, sensing something special in the air. As the engines began to hum louder, ready to pull away, Myra felt a deep warmth inside her. The midnight train was no longer just a machine, it was a new beginning. With Rule by her side, she was ready for whatever came next. Together, they stepped into the carriage, the doors sliding shut behind them. The train began to move, slowly at first, then faster, carrying them away from the quiet station and into the endless night. Myra looked out the window, the stars rushing past like silver streaks. She felt hope, excitement, and a quiet joy she had never known. Beside her, Rule smiled and squeezed her hand. The journey had begun. And in the midnight silence, two souls found something they had been searching for all along. The train moved steadily through the night, its wheels clicking rhythmically on the rails like a soft heartbeat. Inside the carriage, Myra and Rule found a quiet corner by the window. The world outside was a blur of darkness and faint, distant lights. The hum of the engine filled the space, soothing and steady. Myra leaned her head against the cool glass, watching the stars twinkle overhead. The journey felt like a new chapter unfolding, full of promise and unknown paths. She glanced at Rule, sitting quietly beside her. His glowing eyes reflected the stars outside, shining with calm and warmth. "Where are we going?" Myra asked softly. Rule looked thoughtful. "To a place called Horizon Station. It is a small outpost near the edge of your galaxy. A place where many travelers rest before continuing their journeys." Myra smiled. "Sounds peaceful." "It is," Rule said. "A place of calm before the next adventure." The train rocked gently as it sped forward. Myra felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. She had never traveled so far before, and yet, with Rule beside her, the unknown felt less frightening. "You're quiet," Myra said, nudging him playfully. Rule smiled softly. "I am thinking about the future." "What about the future?" she asked, curious. "About us," he answered. "I want to know if this connection we share can grow. If we can build something together despite our differences." Myra's heart beat faster. She reached out and took his hand. "I want that too." They sat hand in hand, feeling the gentle rhythm of the train and the vastness of the night outside. After a while, Myra broke the silence. "Tell me more about your people. How do you live? What do you believe in?" Rule's eyes brightened. "We value patience and understanding. We believe every action has a meaning, and every choice shapes the future. We move slowly, but with purpose." Myra nodded. "That sounds wise. Sometimes humans rush too much, forgetting to stop and think." "We try to learn from your energy," Rule said with a small smile. Myra laughed. "And I try to learn from your calm." Their laughter was soft, blending with the hum of the train. As the hours passed, they shared stories about their homes, their dreams, and their fears. Myra talked about her family and the busy city where she grew up. Rule spoke of the endless skies and slow rivers of light in his homeland. The more they shared, the closer they felt. At one point, the train passed through a tunnel, and the carriage was plunged into darkness. Myra felt Rule's hand tighten gently around hers. When the train emerged, the sky was beginning to lighten, the first hints of dawn painting the horizon. Myra sighed, feeling a new sense of hope. "Look," she said, pointing to the brightening sky. Rule followed her gaze. "A new day." They sat quietly, watching the sun rise together. Myra felt a warmth spread through her chest. This journey, once just a trip on an old train, had become something much more, an adventure of the heart. She looked at Rule and smiled. "Thank you for being with me." He smiled back. "Thank you for letting me." The train slowed as it approached Horizon Station, its small lights glowing softly in the morning light. Myra stood and stretched, feeling the excitement of arrival mixed with a touch of sadness. She had grown used to having Rule by her side. They gathered their things and prepared to leave the carriage. As the train came to a gentle stop, the doors slid open, revealing a quiet platform bathed in soft sunlight. Myra stepped out first, feeling the warmth of the new day on her skin. Rule followed, looking around with interest. The station was small but welcoming, surrounded by tall trees and flowers that seemed to glow faintly in the morning light. Myra took a deep breath. "This place is beautiful." Rule nodded. "It is a peaceful place to rest." They walked together along the platform, feeling the fresh air and the promise of new beginnings. Myra looked at Rule and said softly, "Where will you go after this?" Rule paused, thinking. "I do not know. But I want to stay close to you." Her heart leapt. "Then maybe we can find a way to be together." He smiled, a soft glow in his eyes. "I would like that." The sun climbed higher, casting golden light over the quiet station. In that moment, Myra and Rule knew that no matter where their journeys took them, they had found something precious, a connection that could cross worlds and time. And as the train waited to carry other travelers on their way, Myra and Rule stood side by side, ready to face whatever the future held. Together. The sun had risen fully over Horizon Station, casting soft light on the quiet platform where Myra and Rule stood side by side. The air smelled fresh, filled with the scent of flowers and the promise of new days. Myra looked at Rule and smiled. "We made it?" Rule nodded, his glowing eyes bright with hope. "Yes. But this is only the beginning." They had spent the journey together, learning about each other's worlds, sharing stories, and discovering feelings neither had expected. Now, at this peaceful station, the future stretched out before them like an open road. Myra took a deep breath. "What will we do now?" Rule looked thoughtful. "I do not belong fully to either world. But with you, I feel I can build a place where both can meet." Myra's heart quickened. "You mean, we can find a way to be together?" He smiled softly. "Yes. We can." The thought felt like a warm light inside her chest. A new life, not just a journey. Nearby, a small garden bloomed with strange, glowing flowers. Myra reached out and touched one gently. "This place is like a dream." Rule laughed quietly. "A dream that can be real." They began to walk slowly along the platform, talking quietly about their hopes. Myra shared her dreams of fixing more trains, of traveling to new places, and maybe one day helping others like Rule find a home on Earth. Rule spoke of learning more about humans, their emotions, and the strength of their spirit. He wanted to grow, to become part of her world without losing who he was. As they walked, a small group of travelers gathered nearby, smiling and greeting them warmly. Myra realized that Horizon Station was a place where many different beings came together: humans, aliens, travelers from distant worlds. The thought filled her with hope. Maybe the station, once quiet and lonely, could become a new home for many. Rule stopped and looked at Myra. "Will you walk with me?" She took his hand, feeling the soft glow of his skin against hers. "Always." The days passed gently at Horizon Station. Myra and Rule worked together, helping travelers, fixing machines, and building a life side by side. Sometimes, they would sit beneath the glowing trees, sharing stories and dreams. Other times, they would explore the nearby forests, marveling at the strange plants and creatures that lived there. Their friendship deepened into something stronger: trust, respect, and a quiet love that grew with each passing day. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the horizon, Myra and Rule stood on a hill overlooking the station. The stars sparkled above them, brighter than ever. Rule took Myra's hands in his. "I am grateful for every moment with you. You have shown me what it means to live fully." Myra smiled, tears shining in her eyes. "And you have taught me to be patient and strong." They stood together in silence, feeling the gentle night wrap around them like a warm blanket. At that moment, they knew that no matter what challenges the future might bring, they would face them together. The midnight train would continue its journeys, carrying travelers to distant places. But Myra and Rule had found their own path, a path built on trust, hope, and love. And in the quiet light of Horizon Station, two worlds had come together to create something new. A new beginning.